British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak actually wanted to see all old asylum applications settled by the end of the year. Now, at 175,000, the number is higher than ever. So the number of pending asylum applications in the UK has reached a new record level. This is reported by the BBC, among others, and refers to figures from the Home Office in London. According to this, more than 134,000 people were waiting for a decision from the British authorities in June. If family members are included, more than 175,000 applicants are waiting. The number is 44% higher than in the same month last year, and higher than at any time since counting began, according to current standards in 2010. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is now under pressure to fulfill his promise to phase out the old applications later this year. If Great Britain wants to clear the backlog of applications submitted more than a year ago by the end of 2023, it would have to multiply its previous processing speed. Around 2,000 cases are currently being closed every month, but with almost 68,000 old cases, there should be more than 11,000 applications by the end of the year. More than 80% of applicants have been waiting for a decision from the authorities for more than 6 months. At the same time, Sunak has promised to solve the small boat problem by the end of the year. Many of the applicants who have fled come from France to the British Isles in a rubber dinghy, with more than 90,000 this year. Recently, the British government caused a stir with a proposal to bring the refugees to an island in the Atlantic while their asylum applications were being processed. With a stricter deportation law, Great Britain wants to take stronger action against illegal migrants or immigrants. With the law, people are to be interned in camps for up to 28 days and then flown out to supposedly safer countries like Rwanda. The British House of Lords approved the law in July, and there should only be exceptions to the regulations for unaccompanied minors and pregnant women. I will go to the details a little bit later. In June, however, an appeals court declared the draft law illegal, also because it did not consider Rwanda to be a safe third country. The government announced an appeal against the verdict. Since Brexit, there has been no readmission agreement between London and the EU for irregular migrants, because the country is still confronted with an onslaught of asylum seekers, as they say themselves. It's trying to deter potential newcomers with even stricter measures. And now Home Secretary Suella Braverman apparently wants to monitor migrants with GPS transmitters. According to a report in the British newspaper The Times, the Conservative British government is considering using GPS transmitters to monitor incoming migrants. According to a controversial law, people who enter the country without the appropriate papers are to be taken into custody and deported, as I said. But the space is not sufficient for this, as the newspaper reported as well. Officials have now been urged to find alternative ways to stop people going underground in the UK in the meantime. One of the possible options is to equip all arriving migrants with an electronic tag, as the newspaper wrote. When asked about this, Home Secretary Suella Braverman said in a television interview with Sky News on Monday that she was considering a number of options. And as I said, the government is working hard to increase its detention capacity. But it's clear we are looking at a range of options, all options, to make sure we have some control over people to get them through our system, and then we can deport them from the UK, Braverman said. According to The Times, officials have expressed concern about the idea of using GPS devices to monitor incoming migrants. It can cost a lot of money, there may not be enough devices, and it's also difficult from a human rights perspective. But Prime Minister Rishi Sunak wants to deter migrants with all his drastic laws, and anyone entering the country without permission will be detained, will be deported as soon as possible, and will no longer be allowed to seek asylum in the UK if it goes after them. The government wants people to be sent to Rwanda, as I said, and the plan is of course, still on hold because of the legal dispute. And since the beginning of August, the BB Stockholm has been anchored in the port of the island. It's Portland, a very simple asylum accommodation with a fresh air courtyard. Not even the mayor of Portland had a say there. The community, the fire department, the health service, the police, nobody was involved. And the government just announced, here we are, and that is how it's done. It's a terrible way of housing people, and asylum seekers have to be accommodated in the community, not on a barge in the port, as the mayor said. But local opinions differ widely. It goes so far that there are groups formed. Porters who want to treat refugees better yell at all porters who have concerns, I feel insecure, and stuff like this. Why should we be afraid of people? And now they have divided the whole city with that, and everybody still says it's not a residential barge. But the government wants the ship as a symbol of deterrence and, as they put it, as a powerful message. Above all, there was little space waiting for the first refugees, and the ship is designed for 220 people. With bunk beds, twice as many people now have to move in. And the asylum seekers can only get out under difficult conditions. The harbor where they are anchored is at a restricted area, and from time to time a bus drives them to town, and more such facilities are to follow. But the Tories say better accommodation is too expensive, and they think the barge is suitable. If refugees aren't happy with it, they should go back to where they came from, they say. But refugees crossing the channel into the UK are horrific for the government. Stopping them, showing that no one is welcome, is a top priority for the Conservatives. And they really want the hard line. And we all know Suella Braverman. The British people should know which party is going to stop this invasion. I mean, it's absolutely serious about ending this scourge of illegal migration, whatever the cost. I know that on behalf of all the decent, righteous majority of Britons who want to secure borders. Well, that's populism. Those who choose to cross the channel are sent to detention centres upon arrival in the kingdom. And that's what the new law wants. They are no longer allowed to apply for asylum and should be deported as soon as possible. And it still can affect pregnant women and children. The government said they wouldn't, but it still can. But even people in the government suspect that this violates international law, but they don't care. The country voted for Brexit and then elected us to pass laws that implement their wishes. If we don't do that, we won't be re-elected. And there you know what everything is based on. Another plan to get rid of refugees is Rwanda, as I said, because Braverman wants to just fly them out of the country. They give Rwanda money in return, and there were already accommodations there. But lawyers have legally stopped the deportation attempts for the time being, and a court is now clarifying whether the plan is legal at all. But it gets dirty here. A lawyer prevented the deportation is now feeling the anger of the government. In a campaign, the party branded the lawyer as one of the lawyers who would prevent everything. Her name and also her photo appeared in newspapers. I was really shocked when I saw the articles. After that, I got emails. One wanted to drown me, another wanted to cut my throat. The police had to be called and I secured my house. I have also children and a partner, says the lawyer. That's why I'm not naming her this time. The British government has long defamed refugee lawyers like her as left-wing activists, and even Prime Minister Sunak is actively involved. These left-wing lawyers make deportations difficult. They are just the left-wing lawyers standing in our way. They attack the rule of law, the integrity of lawyers. They want to say it's not because we make bad policies. It's someone else's fault. They distract from the fact that they can't get the real problems under control. And in Portland, the refugees had to move out of the residential barge again. The drinking water was contaminated with Legionella, but they should return soon because the ship should send a message how uncomfortable Britain is for refugees. But I promised to talk about the law again. The Illegal Migration Act 22 is a law passed by the UK government in response to the increasing number of people crossing the English Channel from France. The Act introduces a number of measures aimed at deterring illegal migration, and that includes increasing the maximum penalty for illegally entering the UK to 4 years in prison, and making it a criminal offence to knowingly facilitate illegal migration, and creating a new offence of illegal preparatory conduct, which would make it illegal to take steps to facilitate illegal immigration, even if the immigration attempt itself does not take place, and making it easier for the government to remove people who have entered the UK illegally. Increasing the number of border force officers and giving them more powers to search people and vehicles is another part of this. The Act has been criticized by some as being too harsh and by others as not going far enough. However, the government has said that it is necessary to take tough measures to deter illegal immigration. I just want to quickly recap the important parts here because you need to know it. The maximum penalty for illegally entering the UK is increased. It was 2 years, is now 4 years. And it will be a criminal offence to knowingly facilitate illegal immigration, even if the immigration does not take place. And that is a carte blanche for a lot of stuff. And this could include providing transportation, accommodation, or financial assistance to someone who's trying to enter the UK illegally. And it will be a criminal offence, as I said, to take steps to facilitate illegal immigration, even if it does not take place. And this already means making travel arrangements or obtaining false documents, although that should be an offence on its own anyway. But the government will also be given new powers to remove people who have entered the UK illegally, even if they have not been convicted of a crime. You must think about this, and you must think about illegal international law. And the powers of the border force, they will be able to detain people for longer periods of time now. The Act has been met, as I said, with mixed reactions, because there are still people who want something like this. That's why the Tories are doing this, and we know the right-wingers at the moment. The Act is challenged in court, and the government appealed, and we still don't know how it will go in the end. But the United Nations has said that the Illegal Migration Act 22 is at odds with the UK's obligation under international law. The UN Refugee Agency and the UN Human Rights Office have warned that the bill has a profound impact on the international refugee protection system. Specifically, the UN has criticized several provisions of the Act. The bill would deny asylum to anyone who arrives in the UK irregularly, even if they are fleeing persecution. And the bill would allow the UK to transfer illegal asylum seekers to safe third countries, what they put, even if those countries do not have a good track record of protecting refugees. And the bill would make it more difficult for asylum seekers to access legal aid and other support services. The UN has said that these provisions are contrary to the 1951 Refugee Convention, which guarantees the right to asylum to anyone who is fleeing persecution. And the UN has also said that the bill could deter people from seeking asylum in the UK, even if they are eligible. The UK government has defended the bill, saying that it's necessary to deter illegal immigration and to protect the UK's borders. However, the UN has said that the bill is not the answer to the problem of illegal immigration. The UN has called on the UK government to reconsider the bill and to ensure that it complies with international law, which it doesn't in its current form. And I hope that the courts in the UK are still working properly. Then we will know how the appeal of the government will end. But I made several videos also on the Human Rights Convention and everything. But the Tory government of the last 13 years obviously has a problem with international law. We saw it on Brexit. We are still seeing that in some points there, and also on the immigration laws. And they're even discussing again leaving the ECHR and everything surrounding it, just for campaigning reasons. All of this is just about votes, and that is the terrible part about the whole thing. And if you want to know more about Brexit or current UK politics, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.